Dead Space is hard, almost too hard, but not hard enough. So today, we start a multi-video series where we beat Dead Space's impossible difficulty with idiotic self-imposed challenges, starting with beating the game without using the store or the upgrade bench. The game starts as the USG Kellyan hurtles into the side of the USG Ishimura, doing more damage than I expect I'll be able to do throughout the rest of the game, which is where we get control of the main character Isaac and can meet the rest of the crew. Zach Hammond, Kendra Daniels, Haley Johnson, and the beautiful Aiden Chen. With his gorgeous brown eyes and silky black hair, it's no surprise Isaac has fallen for his effortless charm and undeniable good looks. The loving relationship between Isaac and Chen is the only thing that has gotten Isaac through the past few days aboard the Kellyan, and it's now the only thing pushing Isaac through to complete this job, so he can get home and start a life, and even a family with Chen. There's truly a blossoming relationship between them that nothing can tear apart. Being torn apart from Chen was a fate worse than death. Having to exist on this plane of existence without our one true soulmate wasn't a life worth living. But with him being ripped apart from us by a disfigured alien, I couldn't just stand idly by and let them get away with this. We had to save the ship and take down the aliens, even if it was the last thing I did. We pick up the nearest thing we can find to a weapon and start blasting our way through the ship until we're somewhat reunited with Hammond and Kendra. They let us know that before we can do anything, we need to get the tram system back up and running again. We make our way towards the maintenance bay and pick up one of the most important pieces in our plan to complete this challenge, the stasis module. This module has the ability to slow down enemies, making them an easier target, or giving us the ability to just run away. But either way, this will be an absolute godsend throughout the rest of the challenge, despite its 3 charges and 7-second duration, which, regardless of how much my girlfriend tries to console me, I am well aware is not a long period of time. With the stasis module collected, it's in this first chapter that the game slowly starts to introduce you to the idea of being absolutely ripped to shreds. Providing you with ample resources and various locations for you to refill your stasis, surviving an onslaught of undead monstrosities never seemed so easy. You can slow down time and take off limbs, turning enemies into the next cohort of Paralympic athletes. Or you can shoot bombs and blow them to smithereens, turning them into the next cohort of Paralympic athletes. With the enemies having no armor, your imagination can run wild of ways to defend yourself until you eventually repair the tram cart and pick up the data board. It's at this point you're provided with the first chance to upgrade your equipment to help you survive the ever-increasing threat of necromorphs trying to make your insides outsides. These upgrades can be to your weapon, increasing your damage or maximum ammo capacity, or to your suit to increase your health, kinesis, or stasis. By this point, you've had the potential to pick up 3 different nodes from different areas, meaning at this point, it's all downhill from here, baby. We're straight up plummeting. We collect the data board and fix the tram system so Kira and Hammond can move towards the bridge, whilst we go back to the ship and check on Johnson. With Johnson KIA and shrapnel of the USG Kellyan flying through the hangar, we start to make our way to the medical bay. Not to look for a cure or something that an entire team of medical personnel could have been working on, but for security access, because, priorities. On our way towards the medical bay, we pick up the next item that will prove pivotal in our fight against the necromorphs, and that is the kinesis module. This module allows you to launch items at super speed, shattering the skull of anything in its path, but also simultaneously dealing 0 damage. Whilst it's not perfect, as your damage to enemies relies entirely on the items you pick up, our plasma cutter is going to become more and more useless, and I'm not going to pass on a way to deal more damage. We do also have the ability to pick up the pulse rifle at the start of this chapter, but given that the pulse rifle is well known for being the literal worst weapon in the game, we don't pick that up. Our goal in the medical bay is to locate Captain Benjamin Matthias and take his ship credentials to allow us access to the Ishimura's main computers. Captain Matthias can be found in the morgue, which, as you can imagine, is less than ideal. But before we get there, we need to destroy the barricade blocking the way through. We make our way through the different areas of the medical bay, where it seems the only medical procedure they are completing is euthanasia, and finally make it to one of the more dangerous sections of the chapter, the main lab. Oh, I forgot about this area. There are so many enemies here. Nope. Boom. Right, 1 down. Boom. 2 down. Nope. Get a stick ready. Hello. 1 down. Right, 2. Boom. 3. Boom. Next stick. No, next stick. Hello, baby. Bam. With the lab cleared, we've grabbed everything needed to clear the barricade and can move into the clinic room, which I could compare to my basement, in that it's pitch black and has 2 children in it. We take out the enemies in the clinic room with only a couple of close calls, and eventually get to the morgue where we have to prepare for a battle against the first infector of the game. Infectors have the ability to turn unalived members of the Ishimura crew into unalived horrific creations of amalgamated meat, so we had to think of a plan to get rid of them before that could happen. Right, so my plan here is we need to the flying thing that reanimates enemies. So I think stasis the captain, just leave him to his own devices, take out the other thing. Okay, here we go. Leave me alone. There. Oh my god. My man. Christ. There we go. With the captain being unalived, I think, we can grab his rig, which gives us the necessary access to move into the next part of the ship, the engineering deck. At the engineering deck, we need to get the engines working so that we're not pulled down towards Aegis 7, the planet which is literally infested with necromorphs, and despite being a necrophiliac, that is not something I want. To start getting the engines working, we need to refuel both the north and south engines of the ship, and it was at this point of the challenge that I realised how little I have been using the plasma cutter so far. After refueling the north engines, we can use kinesis to take out enemies from a distance, and the explosives that are placed around the area can be used to take out the other enemy. On our way over to the south refueling station, we get attacked at the end of the gondola, but by carrying some explosives over with us, we can take out 5 enemies only shooting 2 bullets. So kinesis really has been carrying us through since we picked that up last chapter. We refuel the south engine and start making our way to the centrifuge, which is where we're first introduced to the concept of being turned into human paste in one hit. Once we've activated the centrifuge, if we mistime the movement even slightly, Isaac's body could be evenly spread on a crumpet. I feel like an enemy spawns on this one, yep. So what we're going to do is we're just going to stasis and watch him get absolutely obliterated. Nice, and now we're on the move. Please, dear God, make this. 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 Let's go. And we move. Let's go. Is this it? Are we done here? This is it. Right, boom. Up. Call me Harry Potter. Up. Let's go! We done? We're done. Oh, I forgot. I completely forgot. I completely forgot about this. Okay, right, yep. No, 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 no. Reload! Come on. That was close. So glad that we don't have to fight 2 more tendrils. Stupid game. With the centrifuge repaired and the tendril just barely defeated, we can start heading towards the engine room to manually ignite the engines. But before we get there, we pick up the weapon that I'm hoping is going to carry us through the rest of the game, the flamethrower. Despite not being able to upgrade any of our weapons, the flamethrower still does a fantastic job at stalling enemies and causing them to flinch, which gives the weapon more than enough time to take them down. On top of that, it's one of the only weapons in the game that can take out the larger necromorphs without popping their sacks, which would normally cause more enemies to spawn, and it has a great area of effect, so can take out multiple enemies at once. As you can imagine, this will essentially render the plasma cutter useless, which is a shame, because now I just have a massive paperweight in my inventory that I can't get rid of, because you can't drop weapons, and I can't put it in storage, because that's the shop. Sorry about that. Once the engines had been repaired, it was time for Hammond to start flying us away from the planet, which, for some reason, he decided to do by hurtling us towards an asteroid field, the chances of survival for which are 3,720 to 1, which are relatively low odds. With the new problem of being smashed out of the ship and having our body plunged into the deep abyss of space, we get into Chapter 4, which is fortunately one of the shortest chapters of the game. Unfortunately, it does introduce us to a new enemy type. It's been 30 seconds, man. Once we've gotten to the main atrium, we speak to Hammond, launch Chen's remains into space, and then get into our first encounter against a brute. Which button is stasis? Is it Y? Boom. It is Y. I was correct. I'm so good at the game. Okay. He has not lost a leg yet. Concerning. Don't kill me. That's a lot of damage. Well, that's just not very cash money of you, to be honest. Oh my god, I came so close to it's not funny. With the brute defeated and my underwear being slightly brown from the experience, we continue with Chapter 4 by routing power to the ADS cannons from mining administration, electrical systems, and water purification. Because, you know, who needs water or electricity on a spaceship? We make our way around the Ishimura, rerouting power from the necessary areas until eventually the ADS cannons are set up. At which point, we're told we have to manually calibrate the cannons for them to work. So we, an engineer, go out into space and manually calibrate cannons by destroying asteroids that are plummeting towards us. That brings an end to Chapter 4, and a communication from Isaac's wife brings a start to Chapter 5. Nicole's message is broadcast around the ship to let any survivors know that medical is a safe haven. Wanting to reunite with my wife and let her know of the relationship between myself and what remains of Chen, we make our way to the chemical lab in medical, where we're introduced to Dr. Chalice Mercer. Mercer is slightly annoyed that his marker isn't working as expected, and decides the best course of action is to have me impaled. Sounds more like Dr. Callus Mercer to me. Dr. Mercer's introduction out of the way, he takes this opportunity to also release his extremely hostile pet project, the Hunter. Whilst the Hunter does have the advantage of immortality, our strategy for taking him down doesn't stray that far from our method for taking down any other enemy. Mainly because I don't have a choice and my weapons suck, but there's nothing a good stasis and a few shots to the leg can't fix, and we can easily make our first escape. And I reference our first escape, as this entire chapter revolves around us attempting not to be brutally, disciplined by the Hunter. A short 30 seconds after escaping the creature, we find ourselves back in the emergency room from Chapter 2. And the only emergency in here is the fact that I'm being ambushed by horrendous monstrosities that want to enlist me into their cult. We make another hasty escape from the Hunter and find ourselves stuck in a closet. Much like me as a child. Wait, no, I meant like Harry Potter, not the other meaning. Now that I've come out of the closet, we make our way to Dr. Mercer's office, where we're introduced to the not-so-well-named Survivor, who survived for all of about 20 seconds. Survivor lets us know that the oxygen on the ship is being poisoned in hydroponics, so our next objective for this chapter is to not unalive, opposed to not unaliving throughout the rest of the game, which is just a recommendation and not an objective. Once we'd stopped the toxic gas from filling the rest of the Ishimura, we make our way to cryogenics, where we not only re-encounter Dr. Mercer, but also his immortal counterpart, the Hunter. Right, let's go, buddy. Right, we are just gonna freeze him there a second. Thank you. Don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me. Thank you. Right, there's the other baby. Right, we need to get him in here. There we go, freeze. Got him, let's go! With the Hunter frozen and temporarily dealt with, we get into Chapter 6, where we follow on the lead from our Survivor friend and head to hydroponics, where we're introduced to Elizabeth Cross. Cross lets us know that a monster, known as the Leviathan, has been poisoning the air throughout the ship, and it's turned her entire team into wheezers, which emit poisonous gas. This would be a perfect time for a lesser man to make a number of puns related to the Weezer band, but I would never do that. We make our way around the different areas of hydroponics, battling our way through various different enemies and taking out the Weezers, weakening the grip that the Leviathan has on the ship, until we can make our— Yep, there we go. Right, I hope I survive this. Please, dear God, please, 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 please. Reload, Isaac. I don't. I do. 100% Oh my. Now, next question. Is that even possible? Like, realistically? I didn't miss a shot. I didn't miss a shot. Having finally met our demise, this was a great time to learn from the mistakes we had made thus far and build on them, starting with trying to find a more reliable method of taking out this tendril. Sure, I tried this again and it was totally possible with the plasma cutter, but given that we discovered my aim sucks, I didn't think this would be a great idea to try again. After scouring the web and having some help from my Twitch chat, speaking of, all of my challenges are streamed live, come along and drop me a follow, we decided to backtrack to Chapter 4 and we go to the bridge and into the mining administration room to pick up the contact beam. The contact beam has a base damage of 400 points, making it 4 times more effective than the plasma cutter without any upgrades. So this should be able to do more than enough damage to take out the tendril. So with that, we return to the main menu and get into attempt 2.
You just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
Contact beam 12 fully reloaded. Let's try it. Oh, I'm myself, please. Let's go! Oh, I'm so good. this game, man. Right, we're saving the game. Because I'm not that good at the game. With absolutely no confidence in my skills to complete the rest of the challenge, we continue through hydroponics, taking out each of the Weezers, and then returning to food storage to eject the Leviathan into the depths of space. Right, let's do this. Terrifying, but I'm alive. Defeating the Leviathan brings an end to Chapter 6, and we're now officially over halfway through the game. Getting into Chapter 7, we're asked by Elizabeth Cross to head towards Mining Deck, where our objective for this chapter is to set up an SOS beacon on the outside of the Ishimura. Cross also asks us to look for a boyfriend, but unfortunately for both of them, he gets shot in his Jacob Temple. Once we get into the Mining Deck, we get into arguably one of the most dangerous parts of the game, and definitely one of the most difficult parts of this particular challenge, the elevator. In this small area, we're attacked by a barrage of different enemies, all from different areas. If I'm not constantly moving in the available space that we do have, there's a good chance I can get cornered and easily sent back to Chapter 1, and that's even considering the fact that I'm used to being in confined space with miners. I can't say that. I definitely cannot say that. I don't play Minecraft, I promise. Now that we've managed to survive one of the toughest parts of the chapter, we go towards mining control to attempt to launch the SOS beacon. Unfortunately, we get told the tubes are locked, and before we can unlock them, we need access to Supervisor Dallas's rig. This requires us to delve further into the mines and go to Deck B of the mining deck. There are a good chunk of enemies here, but for the most part, these only spawn one at a time and are very easy to slowly take down and continue our way through until we make it to the mineral processing area. Right, activate gravity. Boom. There's one. There's two. Nice, that's them. Little guys. Holy. With Dallas's rig collected, we now have the necessary access to move to the maintenance deck and collect the SOS beacon. But before anything else, we go around the whole area and collect all explosives, spikes, and stasis canisters that we can find and hoard them in the elevator. With this many resources behind us, even with incredibly weak weapons, we should have absolutely no problem completing the rest of the chapter. Ooh, what am I stuck on? I'm actually dead. Well, I can't blame that on my weapons. I just suck.
Just have to say that you're fine when you're not.
Once we've made it back to Chapter 7, we can extremely cautiously take out the enemies and make our way across the gondola where we're finally reunited with our wife, Nicole. Wife? Girlfriend? I don't know. Like any good husband would, I tried to be honest with her. Tried to come clean about the relationship between Chen and I, but just as the opportunity came up, we were attacked. I fought, not just for me, but also to protect Nicole. I couldn't lose both her and Chen. What else would I have to live for? Our ammo was running low with the weak plasma cutter, but with the power of the contact beam behind us and the stasis bombs around us, we were able to save our girlfriend. With the enemies still coming our way, we had no time to talk. Nicole opened the door to the workshop and we head in and collect the SOS beacon. With this collected, we can now make our way back to mining control, where we can launch the SOS beacon manually. Unfortunately, we now discover the tubes are blocked, unlike me after any form of dairy. So we have to make our way down to the mining bay to plant the SOS beacon on the outside of an asteroid, which is completely normal behaviour for an engineer. On a positive note, there's almost zero danger to this entire section. With access to both refillable stasis and oxygen, we can easily slow down all enemies coming our way and slowly take them out with almost no risk of being taken out by enemies or running out of oxygen. With the beacon now in place, we can launch it out into space, which, once we'd bravely taken out the incoming enemies, brings an end to Chapter 7. Chapter 8 finally brings the idea of salvation from this nightmare, as our SOS beacon attracts the attention of the nearby USM Valor. Before we can communicate with the Valor, we must first fix the comms array by completing this puzzle. Whilst this game is rated M for mature, this is a puzzle that is clearly made for an 8-year-old, which made it all the more embarrassing that I spent all too long flying around looking like an idiot trying to solve it, especially considering I've done this before. Once I'd finally managed to activate that singular brain cell racketing off the inside of my head, we completed the puzzle and received a communication from the USM Valor. And on our journey to respond to the Valor, we find the remnant Leviathan, a mass of the Leviathan we defeated in Chapter 6, which is blocking the long-range antenna. Right, we're instantly going far end. Actually, can I now just leave this? Can I now just go and do half the damage of the other one? Have I actually just big-brained this, by the way? Done? Did I cheat? What the hell? Having once again defeated the Leviathan, we make the decision to fly? Float? Do you fly in space? We make our way over to the USM Valor, which starts Chapter 9. The purpose of our journey over to the USM Valor is to search for their Singularity Core, which we can then install into Escape Shuttle, which we can use to escape the Ishimura. Unfortunately, but unsurprisingly, the USM Valor is riddled with various threats and dangers that we'll need to make our way through before we can collect the Singularity Core. Firstly, we're introduced to the first Twitcher of the game. Twitchers are enemies that are fused with their stasis modules in their suits, which gives them increased speed and the ability to absolutely decimate me even more than normal. Fortunately, the flamethrower we have can very easily destroy the stasis packs, which temporarily slows down the Twitcher, long enough for us to stunlock them and eventually take them down. That being said, this was against one enemy in a narrow corridor. If I get attacked by multiple Twitchers at once, they could very easily remove my helmet from the rest of my suit, and it's just a shame my head would still be in it. The second danger we're forced to encounter is the torpedo bay, a room full of more explosives than my rectum after any meal with even a hint of spice. Even one missed shot in this room could bring this attempt to an end and send me back to the Kellyan quicker than you can say this challenge was an absolute mistake. Whilst firing weapons in this room is a massive danger, there are also spikes that we can use to take out enemies with minimal danger, and with them out of the way, we can dispose of the torpedo and move towards the final danger of the Valor, the engine room. Whilst there aren't many enemies that we need to be concerned about here, there is a large amount of fire, and if SpongeBob taught me anything, it's that fire is bad. Once we'd cleared each of the dangers in the Valor, we make our way to Hammond and the Singularity Core. His own fault. Back on the Ishimura, we can start Chapter 10, where we're now trying to install the Valor's Singularity Core into an escape shuttle so we can, to put it bluntly, let everything else perish and leave. On our way to the executive shuttle, we receive a call from Kendra to say that the marker is still on the crew deck, and this can't be left with not only the Necromorphs, but also Dr. Mercer, who we re-encounter on our way towards the executive shuttle.
I think your death will come faster.
Hi, buddy. Now we had escaped from the Hunter, our objective updates to make our way to the shuttle. For the third time. Unfortunately, our access to the shuttle is blocked by a number of tendrils, each in various areas of the ship, so we have to make our way around each of the staff quarters, destroying the tendrils. Whilst finding and destroying the tendrils in each area would normally cause us no problem at all, we're at a horrible part of the game where the enemies are a lot stronger, resources are a lot rarer, and my butthole is significantly more clenched. Which, believe it or not, has a terrible impact on my ability to have any skill at the game. And there are a few areas we encounter while running around the ship that provide a massive threat to Isaac's survival. Firstly, the deluxe quarters.
Oh, that's a lot of open space. Not a fan.
Yeah, shocker, who'd have thought? To spit up. Freeze the spitter. Oh, as if he's hit that. Oh my god. Run, Isaac, you holy If I get hit by the spit, I'm actually
Quarantine lifted.
me. And then again, instantly after that, the executive quarters. Oh, fuck. Right, move. Oh, movement, Isaac. Love to see it. Very close behind me, but we move. Really? More spawns? Holy O's. Once we've destroyed both of them, we can destroy the final tendril in the Chief Steward's office, which brings us to what I would consider the second toughest battle of the game, and one of the battles I was most concerned about coming into the challenge. Well, I say that. Truth be told, I didn't think we'd get this far, but there we go. The battle at the executive shuttle faces you against almost every enemy type that you've faced so far, in an enclosed area with limited movement routes. You're almost guaranteed to take damage during this section with the number of enemies that there are, and on top of all of that, the Hunter is chasing you for the entire time as well. Before I could go ahead and start this, I had to do some preparations to make sure I was ready for the challenges that we were going to face. I couldn't upgrade any weapons or buy any ammo, but there was a lot more available to me at this point that would be a lot more beneficial than anything I could buy. By making our way around the shuttle deck, we found a load of stasis bombs, explosives, and Olympic-grade javelins which we can skewer enemies with, which will almost one-shot a majority of the enemies, and with our plan in place, we can test the shuttle. No, 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 no! Right, stasis in there. Come on! Let's go! Now that the hunter had finally been defeated once and for all, we get grabbed by a tendril and see Dr. Mercer sulk like a little and get absolutely obliterated before we come up against the third and final tendril of the game. Let's go! Come on! Yes! Oh, I'm just better! I'm just so much better! Come on! Well, that was a bit excessive. Taking out the hunter and surviving the tendril brings us into chapter 11. And you know how I said the previous battle was the second toughest battle of the game? Well, welcome to the cargo bay, people. The toughest battle of the game by far. With less containers than I have nipples, you better hope you somehow still have some resources from the last battle, because this entire area is made for you to get absolutely rinsed and bring your run to an end. And on top of that, any hopes of being able to defend yourself against a back wall are destroyed, as this entire area is a loop of horrific monstrosities. But that's okay, because there's a centre pathway that you can use to cross that loop. It's just a shame they've got massive schlong tendrils that turn you into a pancake if you attempt to use it. So yeah, it's suffice to say this entire area was going to be a problem, and shocker, our lack of upgrades and decreasing amounts of ammo are not going to help in this dire situation. Oh, huge. That's huge. That's what that is. That's absolutely amazing. What we need is these spikes. Is there a way I could just hold myself out here? Can I block this pathway? Oh my god. I've broken the game. Right, that's not good. That is my way out. I'm gonna run. I'm gonna run my way back round. Yep, we got one coming from behind. That's fine. That's fine. Contact beam. That's okay. That's not okay. That is bad. B. Health. Oh my god, I spammed B for my life right then. What's my inventory? I've got one medkit. That's my only copium. I still have a medkit. Right, get me out of here right now. With that battle complete, that is essentially chapter 11 complete. Well, not really, but sort of. There are a few smaller battles and some major plot points to the story, like putting the marker into the shuttle, Kendra unaliving Kyne, or us reuniting with our girlfriend, but honestly, who cares? The game came out 17 years ago. We know what happens. Once we'd reunited with our girlfriend, we withhold the information regarding mine and Chen's scandalous relationship. There's a lot going on right now. Our one chance to escape the Ishimura is fading away from us. We had more concerning matters to pay attention to. We recall Kendra's shuttle back to the Ishimura so we can escape with her, but Kendra launches an escape pod down towards Aegis 7, and with the shuttle back in our possession, we follow her down to what I can only describe as the beginning of the end. Chapter 12. Getting into Chapter 12, the end was finally in reach. Only a feasible distance away is my glory of completing this challenge. So it was only normal that we took every precaution necessary to take as little damage as possible. Entering the first building to collect the generator, we remove all of the bodies from the building so they can't be turned into enemies by the infectors once we open the side rooms. And with a stasis refill in one of the side rooms as well, we can use an absurd amount of resources to take out a total of 3 enemies. And that same method actually works exceptionally well throughout the next few battles. In the next room there's an onslaught of enemies, but by once again using Kinesis to create a barricade and force enemies to come towards us in one pathway, we can use a flamethrower to dispose of any enemies coming our way. There's also a stasis refill in this room, so what could have been a potential run ender is made relatively easy. This leaves one final room where we're transporting the marker, and as we're restoring power to the junction, my chat and I had a brilliant idea on how to safely take out the enemies in this room. This room is covered in horrific goo which slows you down, and narrow spaces where you can easily be sandwiched between enemies. And with explosive enemies, launchers, minor necromorphs, and even a brute in this room, trying to take them on even with upgrades can cause us some problems. But what if you didn't actually need to fight them? By using the door to the power room, we can feed all of the enemies into a straight path, where not only can they not attack me, if I choose my shots right, they can't come into the room at all, which means we can move forward into the final section of the game. Moving the marker through the outside, all of the enemies spawn in waves after completing certain objectives and have specific spawn points, which I suppose is the spawning theme throughout the entire game, but at least I'm aware of the spawns for this section. Once we'd moved the marker, we can confront Kendra, who admits she has actually been employed by a company called EarthGov to retrieve the marker for government research rather than destroy it. She also goes on to explain that the marker has been manipulating us, creating images of Nicole when she actually unalived herself before we even arrived on the Ishimura, and it was actually Elizabeth Cross who had been helping us. Kendra then just shoots Cross, but honestly that means nothing to me. Kendra goes to escape with the marker, but she gets absolutely pancaked by the hive mind, which brings us to the final battle of the game. Yep, that is not good. What? Show me your testicles. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Come on. With the hive mind defeated and Isaac having escaped Aegis 7 using the shuttle, we'd completed Dead Space without any upgrades or without ever accessing the shop. But something didn't feel right. It was as if there was a dark cloud casting a shadow over the feat we had just completed. I had a mental block that was telling me what I had done wasn't good enough. This challenge had only taken me 3 attempts and a total of just over 16 hours. And sure, it was hard, but it wasn't quite impossible. An unfortunate turn of events. Halfway through Chapter 12, only 45 minutes before we completed the game, meant that if anyone were to look at this challenge, all they would find is my history of failure and how I gave up when I'd come so close. But with so much time already invested and other challenges to move on to, I couldn't commit any more time to completing the challenge. And so my history will forever be that I was that one guy who came so close to success, but gave up when it got tough. Here we are, Chapter 12. In just 40 minutes, I will have either failed twice at the final step of the game, or I'll have completed Dead Space without using any upgrades or without using the shop. Let's do this. As always, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and if you have any ideas of challenges you'd like to see me attempt, be sure to comment down below.